They ignore you, not because you are weak, but because you are predictable. You give too much. You explain too often. You stay too long after being dismissed. And in doing so, you teach them exactly how to treat you. You were taught to be kind. They were taught to test kind people. Pause. Now listen carefully. This is not a game of hearts. This is a game of pressure, power, timing, and most importantly, detachment. Every time you flinch, apologize unnecessarily, or over-justify yourself, you give them a map to your mind, a map to your emotions, a map to your breaking points. Stop giving maps. People do not respect what is familiar. They respect what they cannot touch, what they cannot predict, what they cannot read. This is why charm fades and silence sharpens. It is not enough to be good. You must be dangerous to ignore. Let me show you why they keep underestimating you. You talk too much. You show too much. You feel too much in public. You walk into a room and look for safety. They walk in and look for hierarchy. You confuse kindness with strategy. They test kindness for weakness. And when they find it, when they see that your smile is not backed by power, only hope they adjust their behavior, they stop listening, they stop respecting, and they begin to train you. Yes, they train you by withdrawing affection the moment you speak your needs, by mocking your seriousness, by giving attention selectively until you chase it like a starving dog. They train you to doubt yourself. But here is the truth. Respect is not given. It is enforced. Not with rage, not with noise, but with silence, with withdrawal, with absence. When someone disrespects you and you continue showing up the same way, you just taught them there are no consequences for violating you. You become safe to insult, safe to ignore, safe to test. And what is safe to ignore eventually becomes invisible. That is how power slips from your hands, not in one day, but through 1,000 tiny humiliations you let slide. There is only one correction. Become unreadable. Not rude, not loud, just emotionally sealed. Become what they cannot measure. Because people only play games where they can read the scoreboard. When they cannot read you, they cannot control you. Do not give them certainty. Certainty makes people comfortable. And comfort breeds carelessness. What do you do instead? Withdraw. Not in anger, not in pain, in precision. When they expect explanation, give silence. When they expect presence, give distance. When they expect apology, give neutrality. You do not need to fight. You need to confuse. Power shifts in confusion. They say fear is a failure of leadership. That is only half true. Fear is the boundary of respect. It tells people how close they can get before consequences arrive. Be warm if you wish, but be untouchable when tested. Let them doubt how far they can push you. Let them feel the weight of your silence when they cross the line. Let them see your absence as punishment. This is not cruelty. This is discipline, because the only language most people understand is consequence. So do not teach them with words. Teach them with withdrawal. You will know you are becoming feared not in a loud way, but when they start choosing their words more carefully around you, when they no longer assume you will tolerate the same disrespect twice, when your time becomes expensive, your attention rare. That is when they start to recalibrate, and that is when you stop surviving and start commanding. The ones who try to charm everyone are the easiest to forget. They bend, they explain, they soften themselves to make others comfortable, and in doing so, they lose shape. They become like water spilled on the floor, visible, but not respected. What you must become is not agreeable. What you must become is unmistakable, to be feared. You do not need to be cruel, you need to be clear. Clear in your standards, clear in your distance, clear in what you do not tolerate. People fear what enforces invisible boundaries. They fear what they cannot guilt, cannot sway, cannot manipulate. If someone can read your emotions too easily, they will begin to design their actions around exploiting them. That is not theory, that is history, that is human nature. The ones who say, "I would never do that," are often the ones who already are. This is why the strategic mind practices neutrality, not emotional suppression, emotional discipline. Learn to see what is happening without needing to react. If someone insults you, they are not testing your value, they are testing your reaction. If you react, you become a participant. If you stay silent, they are left in the cold, wondering what you are thinking, wondering what you will do, wondering if they have made a mistake. Power is held by the one who speaks last, not first. Do not be quick to defend yourself. Defensiveness looks like weakness. Defensiveness suggests that their opinion matters more than your position. When you are truly strong, their disapproval is irrelevant. You do not need to explain your value. You need to enforce it. You enforce it by showing what happens when people take you lightly, not through shouting, but through removal. Remove your time. Remove your energy. Remove your visibility. People notice what disappears more than what stays. They remember who made them feel exposed, who made them feel uncertain, who made them feel like they are being watched, even when you say nothing. That is the power of the unreadable presence. Think now. Who do you fear disappointing? It is not the one who always forgives. It is the one who never needed you in the first place. It is the one whose silence makes you rethink your choices. The one who can vanish and not flinch. The one who never begs. Be that one. Detach from being liked. Liked is a shallow currency. It buys you short-term comfort, but leaves you vulnerable to long-term betrayal. Those who seek to be liked are often the first to be sacrificed, because they are predictable, because they are emotionally available, because they always return. Return less. Respond slower. Be present less often. Become a presence, not a person. A presence is remembered. A person is replaced. If someone only values you when you are available, then your absence is the only tool that teaches them. Do not announce your distance. Create it. Let them feel the air change. Let them wonder why your tone has cooled. Let them adjust to the new temperature without explanation. That is how respect is installed. Quietly, permanently. This is not a tactic. This is a shift in posture. You are no longer here to fix perceptions. You are here to alter behavior by making people feel the cost of proximity. Some will call you cold. Let them. Emotional neutrality feels like cruelty to those who are used to manipulating the warm-hearted. You owe them nothing. You owe yourself the power that comes from being unshakable, not loud, not reactive, just unmistakably, undeniably centered. That is the person they fear crossing. That is the person they regret underestimating. You were not overlooked because you lacked talent. You were overlooked because you lacked threat. Understand this well. People do not respect potential. They respect consequence. You may be intelligent, loyal, capable, but if your presence carries no weight, if your absence causes no disruption, then your strengths become invisible. This world does not reward goodness. It rewards leverage. And leverage begins with control. Control of your reactions. Control of your emotions. Control of your availability. Control of the impression you leave when you say nothing. When you stop chasing approval, people begin to study you. They analyze your silence. They reread your last words. They notice what they once ignored, because your attention is no longer free. That shift in perception is everything. People are trained to expect responses, to provoke emotion, to stir you until you fold. But the unreadable man, the unreadable woman, they do not fold. They observe. They choose when to reveal and when to retreat. Most people live in reaction. They are trapped in a cycle of proving, pleasing, defending. That is why they are easy to move, easy to unsettle, easy to discard. You must exit that cycle. Decide now. You are not here to be understood. You are here to be respected. And if they must choose, respect is always stronger than understanding. Let them misunderstand you. Let them call you distant, arrogant, difficult. These are the words people use when they can no longer control you. Take it as confirmation. You are becoming untouchable. When someone disrespects you, you do not correct them with words. You correct them with distance. Do not raise your voice. Raise your value. Let them learn the hard way that access to you is not permanent, that your silence is not weakness, it is judgment. And judgment is what separates the strategic from the emotional. You must become the one who watches more than they speak, the one who makes people question their tone before they speak it. That is influence. That is pressure. And pressure is what bends behavior. Do not play small to keep the peace. People grow bold when they sense you will not respond. Let them feel your silence as a wall. Let them second-guess your tolerance. When you become calm in the face of disrespect, people are forced to wonder what you are capable of. That uncertainty becomes your armor. Never let them see your next move. Never announce your pain. Never give them the closure of knowing what hurt you. Closure is a gift. Do not offer it to those who wounded you. Let them sit with the silence. Let them drown in it. You are not required to explain the consequences of mistreating you. You are only required to make those consequences visible. You do that by becoming scarce, quiet, unavailable. You do that by refusing to engage in games meant to pull you into emotional exposure. Because the moment you react on impulse, you give them power. Discipline is power. Detachment is power. Patience is power. Use all three, and you will become what most fear, a person who cannot be cornered emotionally. And when they realize they cannot affect you, they begin to fear losing you. That is when the balance shifts. Not when you beg, not when you cry, not when you plead to be seen, but when you pull away with no emotion at all. That is when they realize they were dealing with someone trained in the art of control. And by then, it is too late. Do not mistake silence for passivity. In the hands of the weak, silence is fear. In the hands of the strategic, silence is surveillance. You watch, you assess, you wait. The one who speaks first is often trying to regain control. The one who speaks last already has it. To train yourself to be feared, your discipline must become legendary. Discipline in your words, discipline in your reactions, discipline in how much of yourself you reveal. People should never know how to get to you, because once they do, they will. Emotional exposure is a currency. Every time you reveal a fear, a hope, a wound, you offer leverage to the wrong hands. They may not use it now, but they will remember it. That is why you must build walls within, not to isolate yourself, but to filter who is allowed entry. Trust, once given blindly, will always return as a weapon. Give slowly. Observe relentlessly. People show their character in three ways: how they treat the powerless, how they respond to silence, and how they act when they believe you need them. If someone changes when they sense you are dependent, withdraw. Do not announce it. Let the distance speak for you. Never explain your boundaries. Enforce them. Every time you say, "I do not like when you do that," and yet you stay, you lie to yourself. You make your words hollow. You dilute your own authority. Eventually, they stop listening, not because they hate you, but because you trained them to ignore you. Words mean nothing without consequence. So you must reverse the pattern. When someone shows they do not value you, change your rhythm. Disappear, not in rage, in finality. Let the message land, not in noise, but in silence. The strategic do not beg. They reposition. They do not argue. They vanish. They do not demand closure. They become it. Every time you stop talking and start acting, your value increases. Because the rarest behavior in this world is self-control. People are used to emotional messes. They are used to loud reactions. They are used to pain being performed. They are not used to composure. They are not used to someone who can look them in the eye, say nothing, and walk away permanently. That stillness, that clean exit is terrifying, because it means you were never desperate. You were just watching, and now they know they were being evaluated, not pursued. This is what separates fear from affection. Affection can be manipulated. Fear cannot. You want to be loved? They will push your limits, then apologize. You want to be feared? They will think twice before testing you at all. That is the difference between being tolerated and being respected. To live in the world as someone who is feared is not to be cruel. It is to be calm in the face of chaos. It is to have options. It is to be able to leave without warning, because you never anchored yourself in anyone's hands. They can feel that. It unsettles them, because deep down, most people know they are not in control of themselves. So when they meet someone who is they either retreat or attack. Let them do either. You remain unbothered, because your position is not built on their acceptance. Your position is built on control of the one thing no one else can access: your inner world. You are feared when you are no longer emotionally accessible to the unpredictable, and that fear turns into respect the moment they realize you are not reacting, because you have already decided. You do not need to punish people, you need to remove yourself. Let absence speak where words have failed. Let the silence stretch. Let them hear their own echoes without your validation to shield them. This is how you teach, not by pleading, not by repeating yourself, but by becoming scarce and staying that way. When you withhold your energy, your attention, your emotional labor, people are left with only themselves. That is when the lesson begins. The desperate will chase. The manipulative will protest. The guilty will turn defensive. Let them. You owe no comfort to those who benefited from your tolerance. Once you train yourself to no longer be emotionally baited, you will notice how quickly the dynamics shift. People who once dominated conversations now hesitate. People who once dismissed you now tread lightly. People who once treated you as a fixture now treat you as a variable. Because power is not in presence. Power is in the uncertainty of your return. The mind replays what it cannot predict. That is why you must remain unpredictable. Do not tell them how you feel. Show them who you have become. You are no longer soft for the sake of peace. You are sharp for the sake of self-preservation. You are no longer interested in being liked. You are interested in being unviolated. That shift in intention creates a new gravity around you. It pulls people in not because you demand it, but because they feel they must now earn access where it was once given freely. This is not about playing games. This is about ending them. When you no longer respond to disrespect, it stops being fun for them. When your attention stops following poor behavior, the attention seekers starve. This is how you starve the chaos, by no longer feeding it your emotion. Do not mirror their noise. Do not rise to their level. Stay low. Stay watchful. Stay focused. They will escalate. Let them. Desperation always exposes itself under pressure, but your silence will apply that pressure better than any argument could. Because silence implies control. Silence implies confidence. Silence implies you are above the need to prove anything. You will know you are growing colder and stronger when your peace becomes too expensive to trade for temporary reactions. This coldness is not bitterness. It is balance. It is the realization that not everyone deserves access, that not every insult deserves a response, that not every apology deserves a return. You begin to measure differently. You no longer ask, "Do they like me?" You begin to ask, "Do they adjust when I withdraw?" That is the question that reveals everything. Because people who fear losing you behave differently than people who think they own your presence. And once you begin to see the truth, the uncomfortable, unfiltered truth, you will lose the taste for cheap validation. You will lose the need to be liked by people you no longer admire. You will lose the urge to explain your every move. That freedom will feel cold at first, but eventually, it will feel like clarity. And clarity is where fear begins in those who now see you not as dependent, but as decisive. They realize they cannot guilt you, because guilt no longer moves you. They realize they cannot manipulate you, because confusion no longer distracts you. They realize they cannot control you, because you have trained yourself in the one art they fear most, the ability to walk away, completely, and never return. The greatest threat is not the one who shouts, it is the one who watches, the one who says little, the one who moves without warning, the one who shows no fear, no urgency, no attachment. This person is dangerous because they are not reacting, they are calculating. And the truth is, most people are not prepared to deal with calculation. They are used to buttons. They are used to patterns. They are used to predictable responses they can provoke and then control. Once you remove those patterns, you remove their influence. You confuse them, you destabilize them, you expose their dependence on your reactions to validate their importance. And when they cannot find the boundary, they start to hesitate. That hesitation is power, because now, instead of testing you, they study you. Instead of pushing you, they restrain themselves. Instead of dismissing you, they tread carefully. This is how fear is cultivated, not through violence, but through presence. The kind of presence that needs nothing, the kind that offers nothing for free. Understand this. Power is not in being loved. Power is in being needed, but unavailable. Most people are addicted to attention. You must be addicted to control, not control of others, control of yourself. This is where real fear begins, when people realize they cannot trigger you, when they realize their opinions mean nothing to your posture, when they realize their approval no longer moves you. They cannot reach you, and what they cannot reach, they begin to respect or resent. Let them do both. Respect and resentment are close relatives. Both mean you have taken a position that unsettles others. Let them call you distant. Let them call you cold. Let them call you hard to reach. It is better to be called distant than disrespected. It is better to be misunderstood than to be manipulated. Because when you are feared, the room adjusts when you enter. Not because of your words, but because of your silence. Not because you demand control, but because you carry it. It is the way you do not chase, the way you do not argue, the way you let people disqualify themselves. That is how power is preserved. It is not given away in long explanations. It is not diluted by desperate forgiveness. It is not spent on people who have already shown you who they are. There is no nobility in being endlessly available. There is no wisdom in keeping company with those who would use your kindness against you. That is how good people become broken, because they confuse endurance with strategy. You are not here to endure. You are here to decide. And sometimes the coldest decision is the most necessary one. To walk away before you are emotionally destroyed by someone who was never going to respect you. This is why Machiavelli taught that fear must never be personal. It must be structural, quiet, unshakable, built into how you move, how you speak, how you disappear when respect is absent. And the most feared quality of all is indifference. When your life moves on with or without them, when your goals remain unchanged, when your energy is never thrown into chaos by their presence or absence, that is when you become untouchable. Not loud, not aggressive, just entirely unaffected. The people who deserve you will rise to meet that stillness. The ones who only sought control will fall away because they cannot thrive where manipulation has no audience. You are not here to be accessible to everyone. You are here to build presence, command space, leave silence in your wake that makes people reflect, not because you wanted to teach them, but because your absence did. There will come a moment when someone crosses a line you warned them about. They will test it quietly, thinking you will hesitate, thinking your forgiveness is permanent, thinking your silence is emptiness, not precision. That is your moment. Not to explode, not to explain, but to leave, to vanish without ceremony, to pull your presence like a blade from the room and let the absence draw blood. That moment must be clean, cold, surgical, because it is not just about them. It is about who you are training yourself to become. A person who does not tolerate violation, a person who does not reward chaos, a person who does not trade dignity for temporary closeness. This is the final transformation. From emotionally generous to emotionally sovereign, from accessible to unforgettable, from available to unshakable. They will notice, not immediately, but eventually, they will search for the warmth you used to offer so freely, the words that came quickly, the responses that filled the silence, but there will be nothing. Only the echo of what they once took for granted. And in that echo, they will feel the lesson. Because the most powerful consequence you can ever deliver is indifference. Not hate, not revenge, but the calm, absolute certainty that you do not need them. Not emotionally, not socially, not mentally. That is fear, the real kind. The kind that forces people to audit their behavior before they ever disrespect you again. It is not for everyone. Many people are too addicted to being liked, too frightened of solitude, too desperate for belonging to ever build this kind of presence. But if you are ready to change, really change, then stop managing people's feelings and start managing your position. Stop asking, "Did I upset them?" Start asking, "Do they understand that I am not to be repeated?" The goal is not to win them over. The goal is to be remembered as the one who could not be broken, baited, or kept in a place that dishonored them. You were not born to beg for peace. You were born to embody it. And peace does not mean being soft. Peace means being willing to lose anyone who threatens your standards. This is the price of becoming someone they fear losing. You must be willing to be alone. You must be willing to walk away. You must be willing to never explain yourself again. Because once they know you can leave and never look back, they treat you differently. And if they do not, you leave. Without a speech, without a warning, without a trace. That is the cold advice. That is the Machiavellian path. And that is how you train yourself to be feared, not liked. Share this with someone who needs to hear it.